Oh, Alex, you're there. Wait, hey, one sec. Let me get the lights on.
Just a second, I'm going to get my charger as well.
All right, a little better. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Dude,
Can you hear
awesome.
me?
Hello. Yeah, of course. Good to
Hey,
see you.
likewise.
Wait, I gotta remove this. I am in love with Restream. It is literally,
Thank you.
dude. This is like I was thinking about this earlier. I've had this moment 3 times this year: GPT, Lovable, and Restream. Like those are big moments, you know. Like I remember using this for the first time only like 6 weeks ago. It literally everything I've been asking for on Zoom, like you built in here. So I'm really impressed. It's super cool.
Thank you so much. Again, there is a huge room for improvement. I'm going to try outside. Can you see me well?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, and can you hear me well as well?
Perfect. Yep, very clear.
Yeah,
Um,
because yeah, it's kind of the light inside of the office. It kind of has low frequency, and you can see it on the camera. So I decided to switch.
where is your office?
Like we have a few offices. One of them is in Austin,
Uh-huh.
and we also have office in Cascais, Portugal. It's where I am right now. We have also office in Tallinn, and we have kind of Kiev office in Ukraine. But currently, like most people, been evacuated from there, so outside.
Was that the original office in Kiev?
Yes, yes,
Hey,
yes, yes. So I'm Ukrainian, and like core of our team, as like people who started this company, and many engineers are from Ukraine.
are they all out of Ukraine now?
Not all, not all. Some been actually conscripted, but most of the engineers we've been able to leave 2 weeks before the whole invasion.
Hey, hey. Hopefully that's ending soon. Yeah, that's like
I don't know.
I know nobody does. That's this. Are you like? Are a lot of your family members fighting and
Yes.
things of that sort, and friends?
No,
Yeah.
like no. Family members are not fighting, but like they are there. So
Mhm.
my sibling and my parents in Ukraine, and like every day, every night, like Russia sent like 400 drones and missiles to Kiev and Ukraine, and yeah, so kind of every night it's kind of challenging for
But
mine
they're
for
not.
already a few years.
Are they still in Kiev, or they at least move somewhere else?
Like my parents live in Vinnytsia and my sibling, my sister is in Kiev. And
Okay.
like we have some teammates in Kiev. Yeah, so you kind of every day like they send some videos and like the footages from like what drones done to the backyard and so on. It's crazy.
Ay, okay. Yeah. Hey. Hey.
But like
Hey.
let's we can
Yeah.
skip this topic because I could talk about it for a long
Yeah. I'm
period of
sure
time.
you're passionate about it. Okay. All right. Well, first off, thank you. You know, I texted you because I coincidentally, when I found Restream the other week or it's the other month and like started using it again, I was just searching in my computer and I just searched Restream looking for the app. And then your seed deck from like
Hmm.
2016 came up. And I remember you sent me that seed deck and it was I think Mark Lanau initially sent me your deck, but I remember like struggling so much with that investment. Probably like number one, just because two things I remember vividly. Your numbers were insane. I had never seen billions, the number billions in a seed deck, but I also didn't know like what was a view worth, and I was like very VR focused. So we passed. Huge mistake, clearly. This is like really become an accelerating rocket ship of a company, and it seems like you built it in a very lean, responsible way. So, I run a group. We actually have our like real episode starting in 58 minutes, and that's with a guy who used to work at Andreessen Horowitz and also TechCrunch. But since we weren't totally confirmed if you're going to come or not, I figured like we could just basically go through your seed deck, and then I'll share the recording with the group.
Come
If you
on.
want to, you want to do it?
Like I actually recently showed even earlier deck, one of the first deck. We've done kind of a Shark Tank as one of the activities for our offsite.
Mm-hmm.
And like I actually found even older deck, and like it's crazy. So like we went
Wait,
too
is that
far
a is that a
from where
is
we
that
started.
is that saying yes you want to do that or not? Because for me it's like the journey of that seed deck to where you are is the business, like that's the unique game of like figuring out this is where we were and this is where we got to. Are you okay going through this deck and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
saying like this was your vision in 2016, like did it manifest, what happened, what changed, did you have to hire people, did you have to fire people?
Sounds good. Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
So I'm up
Okay.
for
All right.
everything. So
All right, let's do it. Can you maybe give like a quick context just for the people that'll watch this? How much have you raised to date? And I know you were always like way more focused on traction, so you can tell that story too. But how much have you raised to date, and maybe just give some specs about the business, and then we'll go more in depth.
in total, during the lifetime of our company, we raised 55 million approximately, and most of the money we raised during our Series A 4 years ago. We raised 50 million from Sapphire and Insight.
You raised from Insight Partners.
Yeah, Insight Partners and Sapphire Ventures, we raised 50 million. So, and Prior, we raised around 5 million from, it was Silverton Partners from Austin and group of angels.
So you went from 5 million to 50 million.
Yes, we actually burned around 2 million.
Uh-huh.
And after that, we raised 50. And we were not looking for this amount. It was during pandemic, we were growing very fast, and
Yeah.
when all investors start approaching us, so we had to take.
You tried convincing me to invest in that $2 million round. So that was a huge mistake. Wow. So I would have probably 10x'd at least my investment there. So COVID happens, you start taking off, Insight Partner inbounds you, and you're like, we don't need the money, but there are some things that would help us if we had it. And then that was kind of the whole conversation. It sounds like a fairly easy raise.
Yeah, and again, so we had the conversation. We have had conversation with all funds. So and it's kind of interesting story because at the beginning, when you try to raise your first money, like it requires a lot of effort. So I remember we raised first 50,000 from a few angels, and like it took us 6 months to close, and they gave us 50K in tranches, 10K per month.
You couldn't even get 5K from me. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, it's amazing.
And like with the time, so and we pitched all these funds, and it was too early, and we were growing all the time. We've been growing 2x per year approximately, and
Is
during
that
pandemic we started like much faster.
revenue growing 2x per year,
Revenue.
or user revenue?
Yes,
That's
revenue.
amazing.
It was revenue, and during pandemic we started growing much faster, and it was obvious a similar, like again, not with the same pace as Zoom, but it helped us a lot. And when this when we start getting all these cold emails from Sequoia, then Vision Fund from SoftBank,
Wow.
Index Excel, Iconic. Yeah, so.
Did you talk with
And
SoftBank, the Vision Fund?
yes, yeah, we
Did you
talked with all of them, and
talk with
yeah,
what's his name? Who's the guy?
no,
Okay.
I have not talked with the main boss,
Yeah, he's awesome.
but I talked to some people there, and again, it's kind of was interesting timing, and most of these funds were interested to put some money, and like due diligence took us like a week to
Wow.
raise this amount.
Yeah, because
Yeah, and we were saying no to all of these funds because they wanted to extend like the due diligence time frame, but we already got some term sheets.
okay. So that sounds like that one went really good. Let's take it back to this is 2017. Let me hide this so you can see that there. So do you remember designing this deck back in 2017? You can see down here the little date.
Yeah, I remember.
So from my perspective, I was like 25 or something. I was really young. I had that little venture capital fund with Mark, and I knew nothing about live streaming. I had never live streamed in my life. And so this was interesting kind of understanding of what live streaming was. So right here, your first slide, the Restream declaration. What do you, when you say declaration, is that like Declaration of Independence, or what exactly were you trying to convey here? Because it's cool. I haven't seen this before.
I can't recall honestly. Yeah, it's kind of the major points of like our vision. So
and so okay,
where we are and where we're going.
Let's see if you got there. So 2017, Restream is the most popular way to multi-stream live video across all platforms. I would say yes, you've accomplished that, or close
Yes,
to.
I believe yes. So we recently reached this mark of 10,000 registered, or 10 million registered users in our database, and we have the content that goes through us every day aggregates around 800 million views.
Every day you do 800 million views every day?
Yes, it's kind of throughout, again, content that goes through us. Yeah, it's quite a lot. So the strategic value of RESTREAM is undervalued drastically, I would say.
Oh my gosh. So, okay, so 800 million views a day, and that's across, and you have 10 million registered users. Does that mean
yeah, but like
10 million creators? Because like I'm not really registering unless I mean, I guess some percentage of them are registering without being a live streamer.
Yeah, like 10 million creators. And again, it's between individuals and businesses. So we also have organizations that use us and like again, all kind of, let's say, business verticals use us, or kind of human verticals. Let's put it in there.
Can I pull up the deck or the slide from 2017 that has your numbers, and we can then compare them to okay. Because I remember even back then thinking this was insane. There's two good slides in here. Okay, so product metrics. So September 2017, 400,000 content producers. So you're saying that today is now 10 million, somewhere around there. Okay. Okay. Let's see.
Broadcast delivered probably 500 million or more. So
this is 500 million, and each broadcast is like one live stream. Okay, so 500 million of these. Wow. I mean, watch minutes. That's got to be near trillions at this point, I would imagine.
Yeah, yes, because like if we talk about daily 800 million, so you can imagine that it's a lot.
Okay. And then what is followers at producers? Oh, that's like across their social channels. Okay, gotcha.
I know that only last year users added like Like I honestly, I will not tell you the. I would rather skip this number because it would be very hard for me if
Yeah.
I tell you some kind of BS number. So let's skip this one.
Either way, I mean, September 2017, just this number alone, going from 500,000 to 10 million, says enough. Also, because each one of those people are nodes. It's not like an end user. They're literally the doorway
Yeah,
to, a billion end users. So that's insane. And then this is your market traction. So okay, so
yes.
this would be a really good place to like formally start. So right here, you say $0 spent on marketing, 100% organic word of mouth growth. Every founder that I work with, the hardest part is like doing this from the beginning, 0 to 1. Did you have a strategy here? How can you maybe take us back to like how did you actually get these numbers to begin with?
Like I will tell you that it feels that it's always hard, not only at the beginning. You need to kind of recreate the vision, and like you need to be creative all the way. And tactics that
Hmm.
worked in the past might not work in the future, so you need constantly create new kind of growth engines, growth
Hmm.
mechanics. Like how we started, again. So for us, we start posting. First thing, Restream is the first product or company that we've built that really got and has a product market fit.
Yep.
And prior, we tried different ventures and we built gazillions of different software products, and
Hmm.
we never had this. And like it's similar. I would compare it like riding a bicycle. So when you got it, you kind of it's a feeling that you cannot forget, and but it's very hard to get it without
Do you
actually experiencing it.
quick question out of curiosity? Do you think getting it one time makes it easier to get for a completely different business, or do you think it's like
Yes.
equally hard each time and you're okay, so there is some pattern recognition you figure out once you found it the first time? Because honestly, I've built a million products. I don't feel I've ever once like hit true product market fit where it's just accelerating away from me. So I'm still looking for those lessons, so it's interesting to hear you talk about that. Sorry to interrupt, I'm just blabbering.
No, like I believe yes, is it possible to? It's. I will give you another example. So, with the previous company, we've been building some cool stuff, and we actually got some traction.
Hmm.
And we didn't have that experience, and we missed opportunity.
Hmm.
So basically, instead of focusing on this traction, like some features that gave us traction, we were thinking that, oh, like it's a minor kind of spike or whatever. However, we actually built something like type form, prior type form, and so on. So we
Wait.
kind
So
of.
you're saying you saw a spike in the data, but you
Mhm.
chose to ignore it because it wasn't you weren't
Yes.
looking for the interesting. Okay. And you're saying a really good founder would have just zoned in on that and made that the business. Hmm.
Yes, and something happened then with Restream. So basically, when you don't have experience, it's very hard to see these opportunities. But opportunities are always around us. So,
Hmm.
but when you have this experience, when it clicked, it's something like a ride a bicycle or whatever that you cannot. Then it's very hard to forget. It's
Hmm.
similar like and then it's much easier, and if you focus on the stuff you can spot in other businesses the same
Hmm.
opportunities. It's just my uh, belief and hypothesis. Like again, we are working on Restream right now, and like I don't know, maybe in the future, if we start something new, we can have one more interview, and I will
Yeah.
tell you if my hypothesis been proved or not.
But I would imagine like okay, so take me back then to that 2017. What is
Mhm.
the product market fit that you're seeing? Is it all these customers saying yes? Is it just the organic growth, zero marketing? Like specifically, I guess what was it? And then how did you triple down and make sure it didn't go away?
Like there were a few signals. So first signal, like first of all, our product been glitching very badly, so it wasn't reliable, and user experience was horrible. But the value we've been offering, was very powerful. That you could actually using cloud and distribute your live video feed to as many destinations as possible. At the beginning, we were offering to 30 destinations for free, and we couldn't charge because it was like not reliable again. So we put a donation button on our website, but it was very hard to charge, monetize it. And when we launched it and posted links at some communities with all these creators, we start getting 50 signups per day and start getting some positive feedback. Well, and negative as well. But the point is that people start using it, even it was not reliable 10 years ago. And I think that prior we were spending money on paid advertisement to get the signups or like run some contests. And it was the first kind of not opportunity. It's the first opportunity that we spotted that actually like, oh, we hit something. People really need this. And despite our UX was horrible, it wasn't reliable. We start getting signups, and people started. Basically start getting some creators that were streaming through us. And in a month or two, we start getting these big names. So I remember in a month, Boiler Room. It's a big underground
I partied there
musician
before.
community.
Yeah, I
so
partied there.
It's
in London, right? The Boiler Room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but like they were running venues across the planet.
They have an amazing DJ. Yeah, their YouTube channel and all that's amazing. You're right. Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah,
so they found Restream and said, we want to do live DJ sets from the Boiler Room with Purple Disco Machine or whatever. And then wow. And that was one of your first like corporate customers,
Yeah, but like again, we were not charging them at all. So again, so we have self-serve subscription. Again, they were paying us a few dollars and start using it. And again, so sometimes it was glitching on our end, and but it was a good experience that companies like Boiler Room, even them, or like creators with millions of followers wanted this.
And so when those creators were coming to you and saying, we don't care how bad it is, we need it, is that because the supply and demand dynamics are so much in your favor that like there's just no other supplier of this type of a platform at that point back then?
There were some, so from the cloud-based solutions, yes, so there were no real kind of competitors. With the time, we found a few companies that do it as well, but again, they were focusing on B2B right away, while we've been focusing on consumers mostly.
Okay.
So, and yeah, so we've been a little bit ahead of others. Kind of, like I was thinking that we completely invented this. No one was doing. So we saw that on some forums, some creators tried to do it, like basically opening OBS, or other streaming software, in kind of a few instances, and try to stream. And some users were using some kind of try to set up Nginx server and something that it could multi-stream as well. And we decided, okay, like it seems to be a real need, and we need to kind of solve this problem. And we had a vision that live video is the future, that is the best way, an authentic way to deliver content in real time. And there will be always demand for this, and that most of social platforms, we believed at the time that they will integrate live video functionality. And it's kind of the predictions that happened. But it was risky, so no one uses. It was our vision.
Did you come up with that vision in 2017 or 16 or even 15 maybe because you were watching like Twitch and gamers stream and you thought that would apply outside of gaming? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was obvious to me. And again, so a few industries that kind of impact internet. It's an adult industry and gamers. So,
Yeah.
and when they implement these technologies, it's obvious that in the future it would be mainstream. There is a high probability.
Mm-hmm. So what are the things today? Let's say a founder's looking for like, okay, there's clear trends in live streaming in 2017. You project forward to 2025, and everyone's live streaming. What do you see 2025 that if you project forward to like 32, that is like clearly proliferated amongst all mainstream consciousness?
Do you mean are you asking about live streaming specifically or any kind of technology?
If you were starting a business, like you, for example, it was so obvious to you that was your secret, live streaming, like, and maybe you don't want to say it, but do you have another secret that you're unable to work on because you're focused on live streaming that other founders should be doing, or even myself to look at?
It's hard. It's hard to answer this question again. So there are plenty of ideas, but with AI, I think that when OpenAI launched ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
I could tell you that for me it was a little bit stressful time because all my beliefs on how internet works and the paradigm in which we are been kind of challenged, and like it was long period for me to kind of find a new ground, because with this type of breakthrough technologies, everything accelerates, and it's much harder to predict the future, I would say. And for me, as like I'm already also kind of I have some patterns of which I apply or how I operate, and
Mm-hmm.
some I think that it's an advantage in some way, but also again when it comes to product market fit, it is an advantage that okay, I understand what is a product market fit, I feel it, but when it comes to this ways how to do the work, I think that sometimes maybe it's better to do not have this legacy experiences, because with these new technologies, maybe there is a completely different way to build things, and it was kind of again excites me and scares, and what I would definitely, if I would start something today, I would also try to find something that is not trend. Because if you want to do something that is trend today, I feel that it's already late. So there is no, especially again, there are thousands of companies today do some kind of generative AI, some kind of generative video, like startups and like AI avatars, etc. And I think that again, some of these companies will be successful because they started focusing on it like 5 years ago before
Right.
it became a trend. So
They
they
made
will
it a
survive.
trend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And that all new startups that try to jump into the space, I think that they have high chances just to lose money. They will get experience for sure, but investors will lose a lot of
Yes.
capital, and it will happen. It will happen for sure. So
It's
it's something that obvious.
a great example just to further your point. I saw yesterday that the Replit CEO
Mhm,
started Replit in 2016.
mhm.
So like, yeah, that's 9 years ago that he's been building his Replit AI business, right? So yeah, it's pretty clear that you're right. So I mean, that being said, there are still emerging trends. Like personally, I think there's a lot that's gonna. I think AI brings out a weird, like human spirituality. I don't know if you've experienced this, but like because the AI talks back to you, it's this very weird dynamic where you're almost like speaking to yourself in some ways, which creates a lot of these like very, I don't know, I guess spiritual questions. I think that's going to be a big trend over the next 10 years, is like the idea of the self is going to become a lot more important, and being self-reflective is going to become more important. And you see this in like the world right now with inequalities. There are some like billionaires out there that don't even think about the fact that most people can't afford food, right? And like so and that inequality is growing. And so I think this concept of self-reflection is actually going to be like a really big business trend. And so I'm super into that right now. And it's something I've been hacking on. So yeah, so I do see some things like that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, AI, what is AI? It's software. Like I'm not going to build an AI business. I'm going to build another type of business. And if AI is the best way to make money, then we'll do that. So you talked about always being creative, always like creating growth engines. Doesn't AI, sure, it'll scare you, but then doesn't it also open up an insane amount of creativity for you and like, starting to think about growth engines and new ways to grow Restream? I understand it's scary, but also you're pretty well positioned financially and team skills wise to take advantage of this and become even bigger if you want. I don't know if you want that.
Yeah, I think that you're correct. Again, at the same time, we see huge opportunities for us, and for us, it's kind of just one more wave. We went as a company through a few waves already. At the beginning is gaming, then during pandemic unlocked kind of less geeky audiences, so let's put it in this way. So kind of people who were afraid to be in front of the camera and do video calls, but kind of Zoom, Google Meet, and like Restream in a bit affected this stuff, and people become more comfortable to doing this kind of video calls and video streaming at the end. So for us, AI is just one more kind of wave that we will try to ride at some point. We've been a little bit late again, so we went through big challenges. As I mentioned, 3 years ago, we had to relocate our teammates. We closed one office in Kiev, and most of teammates had some losses of their relatives due to the war, so it slowed us down.
Oh my god!
For a year.
That's 2021 was that, or 2022 that started? I can't remember.
3 years ago, the 2022 probably in February. So and it still kind of has this kind of echo effect, but like we kind of learn how to turn it off. But it's very hard to turn it off because like it's a just we try to focus at work, but sometimes this news affect us.
I'm sure.
And then AI, so so we try to adjust, but like again, I think that it also shows that the main probably skill of the startup and company is to be adaptive. So how fast you can adjust and adapt to new realities. So we went through this and like still going through this, but at the same time we start kind of building again. So for us it's kind of renaissance or even the next wave, like what is after renaissance, rococo, or like kind of some other stuff. New era.
The Enlightenment.
For the company, so.
The Enlightenment.
Yes.
How big is your team in total across everywhere?
Like 65, around 65 people.
And then at that time, like half of them are in Ukraine or something that you had to figure out. Yeah, so that's
but we evacuated around like close to 90 people from Ukraine because we were evacuating as well relatives, right? So the family members, not only teammates itself. And so it took some effort as well. But again, so it's the best. I would say that it's probably the best decision we've done as founders and entrepreneurs. I think that the timing was insanely good. That like when everyone told that it was confident that nothing happened, we 2 weeks prior forced our teammates went for the vacation for 2 months outside of Ukraine, and it's like and to predict this it was very hard, and especially when
sorry, just so I understand. So when you made everyone go on vacation for 2 months, that was because you were worried about something starting. It wasn't just
we basically again we couldn't tell our teammates that they have to leave their houses. It's very hard to make this decision,
right?
But like if you sell that, hey, let's go for vacation with your family members and we cover everything, tickets and accommodation, food, then you might consider faster. And again, for us, it was an investment that we're thinking, okay, if nothing happened, we will have a good event and good time together, and it could bond us. If like we could become a stronger team, but if something happened, we will save the business.
I have goosebumps. So I mean, no, I have actual goosebumps. So you, in a lot of ways, made a bet. You saw something, you made a bet, and you said, "I think this is the right investment. Is to pay for everyone's employee salary and family to basically go on a vacation for 2 months. We're not going to like scare anyone. We're just going to present this as a vacation, but we think." This is a really risky time in Ukraine, and we're going to try to get our team out of there. And you looked at that as an ROI, because the worst case scenario then is at least removed from your company, so that no matter what, you're going forward. That is insane CEO thinking.
Thank you.
Right.
So again, I
Like,
think like I'm proud about this decision. And again, it's not only me. Like
yeah.
I have co-founders, so but we made this call. It was difficult, but I think that it was one of the best decisions. We did plenty of mistakes, billions of them, but this one was the best one, I think.
Mistake. Yeah. I mean, do you think that CEOs, their only job is to take risks? In a lot of ways, you're the only person in the company that can really like allocate risks. Do you think about that from that perspective ever?
Yes, I've been thinking recently, actually. So since I kind of temporarily play marketing leader as well,
Yeah.
and I just understand that sometimes expensive and risky things, it's very hard to even consider for other teammates. So when it's kind of high risk, high reward case, I think that leadership and founders should kind of take again, probably in the ideal world, you have to kind of build the team that will be able and empower kind of people around you to make these calls. But again, the most risky things you still will
Right.
be you will be responsible anyway. So unfortunately, so it's kind of both. It has cons and pros.
I heard that on a podcast a few months ago where he said, "I just look at my job as just I'm the only person that can take the biggest risk." And so like basically all I do all year is just look for what's like the one bilateral risk, and then I take that. And I thought that was such an interesting way for a CEO to operate. I don't know if you can see it, but I even made it says like find a bet, make a bet, lead the world to that bet. Like you basically need one or two big bets a year, and other than that, you just let the team, do their thing. Which you clearly have an amazing team that does it.
I
It's
agree
interesting
with
to think
you.
about.
It really it resonates with me as well. However, there are some things that happen that you cannot like kind of predict, or like again, so you cannot you unfortunately you cannot control everything, like and
Right.
market conditions and again geopolitics, etc. And things could happen, and like the crazy part, the further you go, the more crazy things appears on your way. And probably more high you go, it's like when you try to climb further, it's more risky basically. Because it's you take more responsibilities for people and for the business. You represent the business, so every of your word could be a like if you say something wrong, it could affect the business,
Yep.
or it could affect your family relationship, etc., and so on. It's kind of and at the same time you know what is funny. I also heard this kind of phrase. I will try to translate it from Ukrainian, but basically, when football team wins, like it's a team effort. When football team loses, it's a coach issue. So basically, the coach is like is guilty on him. So I think that it's applicable to businesses as well. Like So basically, when
Hmm.
there are some successes, so it's a team effort. But when something horrible happens, like again, so CEO,
And you're right.
who is the CEO of this company?
It's the same. It's the same thing. The coach's job is to mitigate risk against the worst case scenario, and yet still leave enough upside in
Yeah.
the team. You're right, and it's the same thing for CEO. Anyways, I just thought it was really interesting, and it's cool that you're thinking about that. All right, just before we wrap this up, I have like two quick questions for you. Okay, so how what do you think is the most valuable thing that everyone that's gonna watch this could get from you as a person? And that doesn't have to be advice. Doesn't like just thinking. What do you feel like you have to offer to like founders, CEOs, and all the people that um, really want to become better in their lives and really want to raise $50 million one day?
Do you want to scare them or do you want to inspire them? So
I would like both, I
it depends
guess.
on the.
I'll take both.
So okay, let's start with the scary part. So it will not be easier. so so with every step further, it will be just harder. So it's one truth. and
Does it
but
get okay? Wait, before we get too negative.
no, like it's already a maximum of negativity
Okay.
that I can give. But I try to kind of deliver it with a smile. So, but it's a hard truth.
Okay. So it never gets easier. It might appear it gets easier. It does not. Going 0 to 1 is even easier than going 1 to 10. And that's even easier than going 10 to 100. Is that what you're saying?
Can you see me? Because I see that
And is that,
connection been lost. Okay.
yep, perfect. Yep. All right. So that's the downside. What's the positive side of this for everyone?
Uh, that I know nothing, and I feel that everything is possible, and it just depends on your mindset and your ability to kind of iterate very fast and when you fail, stand again and keep going and motivate yourself, trick your brain that yeah, it will be easier, and you can learn everything. So and you can build whatever you want, and any lesson and kind of all these kind of bumps that you will find you could overcome, and those bumps that were kind of walls for you at the beginning, with the time it becomes a daily routine, and most of them you will not even recognize anymore. So it will be so easy for you, but for some people it will be impossible to overcome. So it's a positive side
Hmm.
of this. So with an experience, you kind of um, could overcome more and can go. Yeah, but like the point is that you don't need to be super intelligent to start something. It's more like, again, I would compare business is basically a sport, like starting company and like running businesses. It's similar to sport, but you just compete on a global scale, and it's kind of multiplayer game in some way and multidiscipline game. But it's very interesting, and you can learn everything from this. And
Here's here's your multiplayer squad, right? Is this the team?
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's some of yeah, again, some of those people actually in the middle, at the first line, like at the
Uh-huh.
second row, like in the middle. So with like Artyom behind this person, yes. So he has been our head of support for a long period of time, and he actually is on the battlefield today.
He's on
So
the battlefield right now.
yes, yeah. So he is an exceptional kind of
Is he
dude.
still
So he is
doing your
also
support while he's
no,
fighting?
no, like
Okay.
no, like we kind of part away pre-war the war, and like
Uh-huh.
he decided to focus on his musician career. So he's also a heavy metal person. So he has his own band, and but he been in, like in a real deal situations when
He's like he's gone startup to mosh pits to actual front lines. That guy is Wow.
Yeah, he's been really on the edge.
How long
On
had
the,
you how long have you known him in your life? Did you know him before starting Restream, or you met him
no,
because of
no, like
Restream?
because of RESTREAM, because
Yeah.
he's been only one person who was a gamer and who's been speaking English in our city, like, and
Gotcha.
who've been interested in streaming. So we kind of employed him, and
Oh my gosh, I just saw wait, I just found one more name I haven't seen in a long time. I'm sure he's still evolved. Morgan, is he still with you
yeah,
all? Dude,
like
he
he is
was
like yes, he's again. So he's been our kind of business developer for many years ago, and
yeah,
last year he completely transited to run his fund, Mana Ventures, and
yeah.
he does plenty of syndicates, etc., and invests in a lot of companies. And yeah, so we still kind of stay in touch, but like his main focus right now is his kind of fund, and he
He
invested
he
in many companies.
he was the one who introduced us, not Mark Lanau. Now I'm remembering. Yeah, good group of people you have around you. All right, Alex, thank you so much. I like this was, dude. I cannot tell you how cool I think Restream is. This has been the answer to so many prayers I've had. I have one feature request, which I'm sure is probably already there, but I'd like to be able to like have a ticker of the Ethereum and Bitcoin pricing here, so I don't have to keep looking over anxiously somewhere else. But like that, some way to have some sort of extra stream. I'm sure there is a way to do it, but that would be super cool for me. Because
Do
I
you
don't
mean
think I
like
can
at kind of?
like I can't share screens. I can't share this monitor and this monitor. I can only share one screen. Is that correct?
I think you can. You can share any tab, but you can actually yeah, it will be possible to add some widget inside of the stream that if you
The
want to.
widget. Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to do that then. Okay. Um, who's your
Again,
last question?
I have a few more minutes, so you can ask me more questions if you
Oh,
want.
you're not. I know. I feel like I sprung this on you last minute. I don't want to take up too much of your time. You okay?
Yeah, because I saw that we basically went off the rails. You had like you wanted us to go through the deck, and then we just like
Okay.
our conversation led us to
We
completely
got
like again outside of it.
all right. Then let's. This is, I think, the most important part of this deck right here is the business model. Did this
Mhm.
stick, or did this completely get thrown out the window and transform over those last 7 years?
Like we still have freemium model, and
Mhm.
but we decreased number of destinations. At the beginning, we were offering completely like free service for 30 destinations, and if you want to stream to some custom ones or a few channels at the same platforms, like your LinkedIn personal page and company page, in that case, you had to pay us. Right now, with the current freemium model, you are able to stream to uh, I believe 2 or 3 destinations.
3, I think. Yeah.
Uh, 3, and yeah, so it's a limitations in destinations for the premium. For the subscription, yeah, so currently our minimum tier is $19 if you pay month over month, or $16 if you pay annually. And enterprise, like we kind of start going up market last year. Again, we have so many different business verticals and kind of non-profit organizations and governments, and we never talk to them. So we start talking to this kind of big accounts and start
Customer
going up
discovery.
market.
Yeah.
Yes, customer discovery. So we, for instance, run masterclass for House of Representatives. So they invited us to Washington. We flew there because half of kind of
Wait, the House of Representatives flew you out to learn about Restream? Oh my
yeah.
god, that's
So
so cool.
yeah, like we have again. So first of all, both parties in the United States, Democrats and Republicans, been using us during election campaigns and overall to deliver some
Wow.
messages. House of Representatives, and again, we have accounts and streams from GD Vance and Robert Kennedy Jr. and
Awesome.
this
And are they
Bernie
restreaming?
Sanders.
You have Bernie
and so on.
Bernie Sanders. That's all. Wait, so are they live streaming like their actual live speeches, or are they actually like sitting in front of a camera like we're doing now,
Like
or
they do
both?
both. So in some ways, they stream kind of these public events when they do
Uh-huh.
press conferences, and sometimes, like Bernie Sanders, for instance, so he's been streaming to Twitch, to YouTube at the same time, and he was using just this camera. So he was trying to do Q&A and like educate
That's
his
awesome.
kind of followers. Yeah, like so most of governments again, so we have French government, Great Britain, Mexico,
That's awesome.
Canada, and Brazil, and again, so most of India and
I wonder
Israel. So
I wonder how unique that is to Restream versus it does seem like governments around the world are becoming much bigger startup customers than ever before. Um,
mhm.
so yeah, it seems like that's a global trend. And if you're well positioned, which you are, that is a lot of nice contracts and also like a really good way to use your technology in an important way too. So I would imagine a lot of people are seeing government contracts increase in the last probably 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah, like and again, so I think that we've been valuable service for them again during pandemic and after that. So during pandemic, most of these non-profit organizations and government institutions they were informing citizens of kind of their counties or cities or like states about like what's going with pandemic, and after that they start applying this to their kind of campaigns and overall just like all kind of events they do, they start like broadcasting, and it kind of become becomes a new normal. And at the same time, similar trend happens with all the businesses. So some companies, some startups launch in public or build in public. So Lovable is our client. So all live streams of Lovable go through Restream, HeyGen, and again OpenAI live stream, and you could see even it was a YC event. It was streamed through Restream and Stripe sessions and so on. So kind of Oracle and Google Cloud and Cisco and Adobe. So all these live streams
Who
that you see, it goes through Restream.
let me
So
ask
they
the
go.
opposite. Let me ask the inverse question. Who doesn't need Restream in your head? Like
No
from a
one. I
business.
think that it's kind of interesting. We've done this exercise. Great question. So actually, we have in our database all kind of users that again represent different again small and medium businesses,
Mm-hmm.
uh, like physical businesses,
Mm-hmm.
then enterprises like automotives and like enterprises. It could be hospitality, financial sector, automotive, and so
Mm-hmm.
on, healthcare. So similar to, and then all the tech businesses again, startups and enterprises,
So like
media and entertainment companies, all these radio stations, TV stations.
do you have public
Uh,
companies delivering earnings reports yet?
yes, the last one we've done, actually, Robinhood was doing this like a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
With Restream.
Yes, it was
Oh,
through Stream, yes. Yeah,
so
so earning calls is also one of the use case for enterprises. So when we talk about enterprises, like they have a few use cases. Product launches, company updates, earning calls. Then they do kind of customer success events when they educate their audiences. So, for instance, if you like some CRM and you have some, you also could build a developers community and educate them how to use the API and build some tools for CRM and so on.
hmm.
Even internal communication. So we have clients like Shopify, and they use us for internal comms. Because again, companies that have many employees and to run good kind of company update and town hall, you need kind of much more robust tool with a better production quality.
Mm-hmm.
And Shopify likes Restream, so they prefer live streams through like the internal communications through us as well.
Getting really into the weeds here, just curious. So like do they have someone in the background that's managing and producing the show live well, because right now I try to do all of it. It's like it's a skill, right? And so, do they have people that do that? Is that traditionally where this goes once you've scaled?
Yes, so they have some of them have own departments, but again, small startups. They just basically marketing teams in most
Right.
cases do this. And again, so when we started Restream, we had in mind this one man band or one person band, if you want to say general neutral. So it's when one person could orchestrate everything, and the goal. So we envision as a product that could be operated by one person. So you can do everything, play guitar and drums at the same time and sing songs. So it's something we have in mind when we build a studio. However, we are going to apply some AI technologies that could help you to do this kind of operational work behind the scene. But again, so if you want to run
There's a good use of AI producer. I would love to have, like when you say something interesting, have your camera get bigger, have mine go smaller. Like that would be super cool to have something AI and dynamic, making the show more visually appealing. That's a cool thing I'd love.
Yeah, but co-producer, it's also nice to have. So someone behind the scene can pick the question or change the layout. So for teams like TBPN, so these guys, so they have a whole production team. But again, it's more like a media case,
Right.
not the tech business.
Well, we have one question from the audience. I've actually never asked a question from the audience before, so this is exciting. We have, I think it's on YouTube. Clap Tima. He says, "What was the secret sauce for fundraising?" We kind of went over that a little bit, so maybe just give us like when it was really hard. What do you think was the secret for making sure that you closed capital?
It's just like number of games, so you need to keep doing this. We talk to hundreds of people just to be persistent. So again, at the beginning, I sent a cold outreach email to Elon Musk, to Ben Horowitz, to this like famous entrepreneur, very influential with white hair, like Virgin.
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson, and so on.
Yeah.
Again, I was trying to find some emails and just. You just need to be. You don't need to be afraid to be rejected. And the cool part about it is that they ask some smart questions, and you learn from them. So when we started our fundraising, you will be surprised. I didn't know the meaning of the word traction. For real. And like the first, and again, and
wait, you were living in Ukraine back then, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And I just didn't know what it stands for. And but TechCrunch already posted about us. And
we have
then hi.
Hey, Kyle's our next guest. Kyle, Alex is the founder of Restream. They have House of Congress, U.S. presidents, everybody using this. He's just telling us a quick story. Kyle's starting in 6 minutes. Thanks for joining early, Kyle. You're welcome to hang up
Absolutely.
here.
Feel free to drop me to the
backstage. Alex was at Andreessen Horowitz. I bet you he looked at Kyle was at Andreessen Horowitz. I bet you looked at Alex Restream at some point there.
Yeah, like we pitched to I believe Brett or Ben. Someone responded. So I sent a cold outreach email to Ben Horowitz, and someone responded from his email, and then he connected us with one angel from New York, Jana Fisher. That she was an angel at Notion, I believe. But Andreessen at the time, at the beginning, couldn't. But again, I couldn't speak English. I couldn't communicate and explain my vision. So, what is my vision? What is company vision? What we stand for? So,
Kyle, he's raised 55 million, and he said when he started fundraising, he didn't know what the word traction meant.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's true.
Awesome. That's the best. That's awesome.
Sorry, I'm actually having issues with my headphones. I'm going to drop off and fix that.
I'll turn you off. I'll turn you off. Go for it. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So and
you didn't know what traction was. Sorry, and then you.
Yeah.
How does that go the first few days to the first few pitches?
Yeah, it's basically I receive these questions and then I start Googling and looking for answers. But then every time you go and talk to these people, especially who experienced entrepreneurs or investors, again, so many of them will, especially, again, so investors with more entrepreneurial experience, sometimes they are a bit more loyal because they went through this kind of difficult times. So they have, I would say, you have much more connection, emotional connections with them. And when like sometimes you talk to more financial people from VC world that have not built companies themselves, so it could be a little bit more raw. So you could kind of have some, you could feel some kind that people look at you from top down, so a little bit of arrogance or something like that. But it's normal, so you just need to understand it's just because of the backgrounds. But everyone actually wants the best. Everyone has good intentions.
You had Morgan early on who made like a ton of introductions. I had Nico early on who made a ton of introductions. I think like finding that one person that you really connect with that leans in and makes introductions is probably one of the biggest like hacks you could have in a fundraise. But it's so hard to find that person because they can't just like you. They can't just believe in it. They have to also put their own money in first and then do it. And so it's like a very precious position that person took. So I do feel like Morgan was that for you early on.
Yeah, Morgan helped a lot. Yes, so he
Yeah,
helped a lot. But again, at the end, we were pitching together, and like still, all investors wanted to hear what I have in my mind, and it was very hard to communicate. But again, so we went through it. Now, you see, I like jumped on this call, and I actually didn't know if it will happen or not. But again, I'm much more comfortable.
That social confidence is key to fundraising and sales. You don't really need it for sales because your product's that good. But yeah, I think you're right. For fundraising, it's really important to develop that confidence around the social side of things. And it's even harder not knowing the language to begin with. I think that's one of the coolest quotes I've ever heard. We raised 55 million. I didn't know what the word traction meant when we started. So was your mindset just last question, then we'll hop off. So was your mindset back then 100% focused on traction? There was like, you weren't even thinking about investing. It was just like, how do I make money so that I can continue doing this? And then that just organically evolved.
No, like we were thinking about raising money because we had to buy, rent barrel metal servers. And we had the runway for half of the year or maybe more. Like runway was a week or two. So it was very rough timing for us because we failed with the previous company. We didn't have any money left and no one believes that we could build something because we failed so badly. So we were trying to stay afloat and we were lending money from friends just to rent servers. And it was very hard. But then it also good learning because you learn how to be on a short runway. So it teaches you how to be focused and that you cannot do a lot of missteps. You can do a few attempts, but those attempts have to be very solid that you can risk. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
Microsoft CEO says, be bold, but be right. And yeah, when you have no cash, you have no choice. You have to be right. So that's awesome. All right, we're gonna bring Kyle. Kyle just joined. Alex, do you have? We always ask this to every guest we've ever had, so I'll ask this, and then we'll pass the microphone to Kyle. But what is your number one bit of advice for startup CEOs that if they saw this, they would just need to watch that answer?
Come on, I don't know, stay humble. Because again, it happened to me many times even before RESTREAM. So when you start thinking that you know something, life gives you a lesson. So more humble and lean you are, more modest, it's better.
For all those listening that are up 300% on their Ethereum portfolio, you should listen to that. That's a pretty wise thing. Yep, you're right. Never stays perfect, and you never know anything. That's awesome. Thank you, Alex. All right,
Thank
we're
you,
gonna.
Dan, for having me.
Yeah, dude, awesome. Kyle, I met him back in 2017 when he didn't speak English hardly, had raised like almost no money, and I passed on the investment. And so we just went through some of the slides from his deck, and he's now got like 10 million creators. He's got everyone in the world using this. Robinhood's doing their freaking like investor calls.
And the nature of it is always like, oh, well, what do you think the best metrics you'll ever achieve are? And then, 8 years later, you're like, oh, I had no sense of what success would look like.
He's one of the few decks where that graph actually was the truth, where it just goes straight up to the right.
There you go.
Very cool. All right, Alex, thank you. Thanks for sharing the story, and we send love to the team. Adios, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Adios. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Alex. Wow, that's awesome. Man, he built this entire platform that we're using. Like it's so cool when you see someone that actually achieved their dream. And it's even cooler when you were like not really positive they were going to do it, and they proved you completely wrong. So it's awesome.
Well, I think that's what, speaking of his last point of stay humble on the VC side of things, I think that's like one of the most powerful lessons, and why it like there is just a clear, I think, distinction between someone who's like sharp about business models and technology and someone who's like has wisdom accumulated from being in the business for an extended period. Is like you get humbled as a VC by like, oh, I was so confident in my yes or no, and things will go 10,000x against what you predicted.
It's because the edge cases are the real winners, and those are the ones.
It's the whole game.
Patterns don't apply.
That's right.
I've actually been thinking, we were talking about this, Alex and I, but how do you define risk taking? Because, and I'll just give you a quick insight. We were talking about like the CEO's job is basically to make maybe one or two really big bets each year and ensure that they work.
Yeah.
So how do you define risk taking in your own life?
I think that the definition that pops to mind intuitively is something around taking on opportunity costs because you expect ROI. Intentionally making a trade-off with your time or resources, the things that you are trying to do or could be doing. And whether it's foregoing things in your personal life to dedicate more time to your work, or foregoing investments in your friends' cool startups because you have to dump every dollar into your own very speculative business. It's saying, I know those things are also worthwhile, but I'm intentionally making this choice because I think that I'm going to achieve outsized ROI, return on this differentiated bet.
My friend last night was telling me how a few weeks ago he couldn't afford gas when he went to the gas station because he put all his money in Ethereum 4 weeks ago. I'm like, you know what? That probably felt really good at the time, knowing you were doing the right thing. And so that's exactly what you're saying. It's like you're basically giving up opportunity costs and you're giving up things. I'm thinking about it more from the perspective of does risk really exist, or is not doing the risk? Because if you look at a lot of people that have succeeded, they just never stopped, and therefore eventually it worked out.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways to look at it. One is the point that you just made, which is like a lot of success in hindsight looks like just staying in the game, and eventually a bet pays off in your favor. Circumstances align where what you were trying to do lines up with things that people in the world are trying to also achieve. So it's complementary or lines up with a demand that emerges culturally. Like sometimes the time just needs to be right. Mm-hmm. And then the other is if you can avoid personal stagnancy, running at a lot of interesting opportunities and trying to evolve with them and becoming a unique person in terms of your skill set and perspective and what you think is scary or an interesting opportunity just because you've morphed into something that's like incredibly unique based on having not operated within kind of very defined swim lanes where success is very predictable. Because if you are taking risks in this way of trying things that are wholly new for you, Hopefully you're failing. Again, that's very counterintuitive, but like you're going to, if it's easy, you're also probably doing something that's straightforward and therefore not actually pushing yourself in any way. But if you can extend into something that is a wholly new domain, a wholly new skill set, and you see that yourself failing, like, oh, now you're risking embarrassment, you're risking the sense that you're wasting your time, because like, oh, in those early iterations, it feels like, oh, one step forward, two steps back with that last failure. But if you can push past all of that, I think you are eliminating various kinds of risks. You're eliminating the risk that your skill set or the combination that you have will just completely fall out of use, completely fall out of relevance. This is, a classic perspective for software engineers with an extended career history. The idea of like, there's some people who are like, well, I'm a Java man. I started learning Java in the 90s, and then I moved to the various big tech companies that needed Java skills. And then when that falls out of favor, when suddenly like, oh, even Android is like, no, we got Kotlin now. Like, no, we're not doing that. And you're like, oh, well, I guess I am out of the technology industry now. That is like a pattern some people get totally comfortable with, and it is pretty lucrative for a pretty long time. And then you have other people who are like, well, what are the interesting problems right now? Okay, well, in the 90s, it was just like getting stuff on the internet at all. And then in the 2000s, it's about spinning up networks. And oh, well, certain companies have stronger networks than others. Maybe I should go to the ones that have the strongest networks because they'll operate at crazy huge scale that we've never seen before. And now, similarly, you could say like, okay, well, in the 2020s, where are the interesting problems? It's around building AI or figuring out like, wait, how do we actually push this into the real world? Like, next word prediction, how is that useful for pick any kind of information or knowledge work? And so if you operate in that mode, you eliminate the risk that you just kind of completely drop out of your skill set applying to what people are trying to do.
And that's probably going to be one of the biggest problems in the next few years is people are unwilling to take that risk and start learning new things. And to your point, like JavaScript, they'll become somewhat irrelevant.
So honestly, I think you could argue that either way, though. You could say like, oh boy, like the stuff is going to steamroll over you if it's automated agents. But, maybe agents don't work out for reasons of economics or latency or hallucination rates at like actual economy-wide scale is not acceptable. There's like various combinations where it's like, oh, it is going to look like human extension, not automation for some meaningful amount of time. Even if you're using a bunch of agents, it's like, oh, well, it's people who are really good at like playing StarCraft, but with dozens of agents that they're deploying in various tasks at one time. And that's a skill set that can be improved. And my experience of the last couple of years has been, and this might be just my own weirdness of where I fall in some distribution, but I actually feel like I'm empowered to learn anything I want rapidly, and not like the learning I used to do, which is like I read like 30 to 50 books a year. And it used to be like, oh, I will read like some technical tome that is this thick. And now I will know how to procedurally generate meshes for video games. And now instead you go to ChatGPT or Cloud and you say, I would like to start procedurally generating meshes for games. Like, where do we begin? Right. And immediately you're looking at working code and you're iterating from there as your starting point for learning. Like you're at the do stage so much faster.
Because that AI already read that book that you were going to read.
And it read like 4 editions of it and all of its peers, all the citations.
But you're right. I think probably everyone on this call or like most startup founders recognize that, but I don't think most people realize there's nothing. You can't just go and say, how do I do? And it tells you step by step. Well,
so there's a couple things here. A statistic that I found like disturbing in how much it again humbled me recently was Sam Altman talking about the transition to GPT-5, which has the model router where depending on your request, it might say like, let's just give you a quick response, or hey, let's give you a reasoning response where it fires off a chain of thought in the background. And it's like free users, it's like 1% of people were ever getting a reasoning response, and now it's up to 7%. So huge uplift. And then for paid users, it's from I want to say like 12% or 7% to 24%, 12% to 24%, some jump like that, where like, oh, well, I was only using the reasoning models like 100% of the time. I was like a ChatGPT o3 addict, and all of my peers are as well. It's like, oh, actually, again, ourselves, people on this call listening in, you might be just like an exceptional like endpoint of the distribution still. If you are at all following the metagame of what model should I use for what kinds of tasks and what kinds of context do I need to feed for different kinds of problems, you might actually just still be the top like 5-10% of total users in terms of competence around these things. So that is somewhat anchoring my also understanding of where people are today.
Without question, that's true. But I think that's the point I want to further. Like that's what I'm trying to say is that eventually this reasoning model, you won't even need to select it. It'll just, in a year from now, it'll actually be good. 5.0.
Right. No, I take that as even because the model router is itself a model that is learning.
Exactly.
So,
and the reason why it's doing reasoning on 14% versus 7% is because it's got 7% error rates probably on those because it doesn't need to be doing it. But anyways, but yeah, so eventually you're right. Any person in the world will be able to learn anything they want. And at a certain point, it probably starts to do this stuff for them without them needing to do it. So, okay, that brings us to you today. So I saw some crazy technical thing you were doing on X a few weeks ago with AI. You're very technical and you're very social and you're financially capable because you invested with Adreessen and you're a good writer because you're a reporter at TechCrunch. Those are like very, 4 important skill sets. The one I'm missing is the technical AI tool set. So when I saw your post, I said, I don't understand anything he just said. I'd love for him to like maybe help me understand what is he doing. And so I'll leave it there. What are you doing right now with AI tools? And can you show us anything?
So in terms of showing, wasn't prepared to bust out demos. In terms of things I'm working on though, recently I've been very much so interested in getting into the nitty-gritty of model training techniques. I think it's really important when the labs all signal that they are adopting a new technique is like, oh, this is going to bring all of us to the new state of the art within the next 6 months or the next year. Like we're all going to adopt this practice. Our models are going to work this way. It's like, oh, well, if I can actively train a tiny little model myself using those same techniques, I'm going to be much more prepared for the coming world. And so a few things that hit my radar.
Break that down for an idiot real quick for me. So walk me through that exactly from the base.
Okay. So
what are you seeing that they're seeing? And then how are you reacting to that?
So I was going to get there. So 2 recent blog posts I wrote were fine-tuning Apple's foundational model. And then a blog post I wrote called LARPing as an AI researcher, where I fine-tuned one of the Chinese Qwen 3 models. So I'll start with the Apple one. So I think everyone's kind of aware that like Apple feels like it's behind in AI. It released its own Apple Intelligence features last year, and let's say they were underwhelming. Parts of them didn't ship at all that they announced. This year at WWDC, their developer conference, they announced, hey, we have a 2nd generation of models that are going to be on your phone, and app developers are going to be able to use them for free. If your app was previously using ChatGPT for things like auto tagging pictures you're uploading to know what your interests are, what was in them, or auto suggesting like changes to your posts to make them sound, I don't know, a little more clever or appropriate grammar. Use our model; it'll be free instead of paying for OpenAI's API to use one of their models. It'll be running right on the user's phone, so it's also totally private. No data leaves their device, which hopefully your users will appreciate. And so the model is very small. It's not particularly impressive, but one of the things that they announced alongside it was we're going to release tools to let you train the model further for specific tasks, so that if there's something that would be valuable to do, but by default, it's not smart enough to work for you, you can do that yourself. And so they were very quiet about the actual release of these tools. I kind of just stumbled upon them because I kept checking the developer docs myself every few days because I was curious about this supposed fine-tuning kit.
Smart, man.
And upon downloading it, it's very bare bones. You need to understand how to set up Python notebooks. You need to understand how to set up your own training data set. And they also had disclaimers that are kind of like, this is a bad user experience as a developer tool of, oh, every single release of the OS going forward, you're going to need to train a new version of the model. It's like, we are going to continue dropping updates. And so any changes you do are going to need to be reapplied. And also this is stuff that requires like meaningfully expensive GPU time. As I discovered, if you walk through that blog post, like I had to set up my own H100 in the cloud, a very high-end NVIDIA GPU, typically bought by the tens of thousands by the big Magnificent Seven tech companies. And so ultimately, the world that Apple imagines with this stuff, just to like simplify this all down, not using like terms like LoRa and training models, but basically the world they imagine is having one tiny model that they provide on their phone or your iPad or your MacBook. And for every single use of AI within that app, you actually train a slightly modified set of weights, but a very small fraction that can be swapped out that only is about 150 megabytes of download. So, like a video game on your phone, if you're downloading like a new outfit for all of your characters, like the same size download as that to get new AI capabilities on your phone. They imagine
each app you open reformats that.
And not only one time, but specifically every feature, essentially. Like Apple didn't go into depth on this at the actual WWDC event when they walked through their new model. But if you look at, for instance, the weather app, each of the different features that involves summarizing and putting in natural language is actually a different one of these custom trained modified models. So they're imagining a world where for every task you have a custom model, which involves a larger amount of training in terms of number of training runs than you'd have in the past. You can basically imagine, like today, if you're vibe coding a feature, it's like, no, expect for every single feature you vibe code, you're also going to train a little model using presumably a straightforward set of tools as their vision of the world progresses. But this is pretty unique. This is not the world that OpenAI, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, that all of them are putting forward. They imagine models that they work hard to make be pretty smart, that are generally intelligent and don't require these modifications per task. And if you are doing modifications per task, it's for something incredibly valuable, where presumably your business is already doing that function with humans and can say, oh, we're going to start figuring out how to collecting this as training data so that we, for our enterprise, can spend a lot of money to make like one custom version that handles this task in an automated way going forward. So that's what I was exploring with this Apple blog post and the test run was, what does the work involved in Apple's vision of the world look like? And it's figuring out what individual tasks you expect a model to accomplish within your product, and then figuring out what would good examples of that output look like. And then that will be the basis for constructing your own data set. And so this gets into another skill set that I've, across these several different projects, have been kind of working on myself. I think it is generally going to be valuable going forward in a bunch of different problem domains, is generating synthetic data using powerful LLMs to fine-tune or customize models to be able to handle specific problems with very high success rates, very low hallucination rates, fine-tuning a smaller model so the economics are better. So to ground this, you would have the very smartest model that you have access to that also, in their terms of service says you're allowed to do this. But basically saying, I want to summarize legal cases using the correct jargon and references to other cases. Give me 1,000 examples of doing that. And maybe you feed in.
Is this your LARPing concept?
This is maybe a good transition point to that. Okay. So the second blog post, LARPing as an AI researcher, I wanted to go through more extensive training.
Hey, you look great as a Harry Potter character.
I'm like a wizard of justice. I don't know what's going on there. Awesome. And so talked previously about, okay, what all the labs are doing or say they are going to do is a valuable
Pay you
a
later.
valuable skill set to pick up to understand where these products are going, where things that you can build as wrappers around their models in the future are going to go. So the kind of meme technique among researchers since the O1 series of models, and then especially DeepSeek V3 and R1 late last year, is a technique called reinforcement learning with verifiable rewards, RLVR. So maybe previously you've heard about training GPT-4 with RLHF, reinforcement learning from human feedback. And so this was, okay, we've instructed this model how to understand that there's a user and an assistant, and it should be providing helpful results. And people are going to say thumbs up or thumbs down, was that helpful? And we're going to condition the model to act more and more like the responses where people said thumbs up. So that was human feedback. So starting with the O1 series models, and then looking again to DeepSeek R1, which was this huge, meme stock market affecting moment late last year. RLVR, the idea of, for certain domains like solving math problems or writing code, the output of these models is verifiably correct or incorrect. And so it is relatively straightforward to have the very smartest model you have work through as many questions as you have a compute budget for, come up with many, many examples that if you show to the model, or show correct chains of reasoning of how to work through problems, and it'll get better at working within those kinds of domains. So, and this is why you've seen, go ahead.
Can I make sure I'm with you and make sure everyone else is with you?
I'm using lots of jargon and trying to be good, but please re-summarize.
I think most people listening understand this. I'm probably the minority here. But so essentially what you're saying is, okay, we take something, we create like a million permutations of it synthetically. And then we go through all of those different synthetic scenarios we've created from that starting point. And because we've now done this with so many of these, we no longer need a human clicking thumbs up, thumbs down on each one of those scenarios, but we're able to figure out logically, no, 2 + 2 doesn't equal 12. Like, you should probably recheck that, GPT.
So basically it's for certain kinds of problems, certain kinds of solution generations, you don't need the human in the loop at all, because a computer using traditional programming means of evaluating 2 + 2 can be in the loop at that step, saying right or wrong. Correct. So you're right there.
Sorry, I'll let you go. Sorry.
So that is pretty straightforward, I would say, for math and code. For math, does the 2 + 2 work out correctly? For code, does it compile? Does it show the website as you expect? Does it pass tests? There's various ways to evaluate. Where this starts to get more interesting are we making general intelligence? Are the models improving on benchmarks outside of just math and code? Is applying this to domains outside of these things are straightforwardly verifiable. So if you look at reporting from The Information, one of the big things reported on leading up to GPT-5's announcement was the idea that they have a universal verifier, which from the reporting, it sounds like it is using the biggest model they have internally to go, are these answers right or wrong?
Okay.
and so this connects back to a technique that I was working with in my blog post that came out of one of the DeepSeek papers last year, called Group Relative Policy Optimization, GRPO. Sorry that I have to use jargon. It actually is nice and straightforward how it works. To help you train on things that aren't as straightforward as code or math, like with the universal verifier I just described from OpenAI, it has your GRPO has your model spit out, let's say, 4 results where you've verified maybe parts of the output already, or it's tasked to reference things that are correct, and then it ranks your outputs. And the highest one gets rewarded in the reinforcement learning. The weakest response is penalized, and so.
But it could be inaccurate because it's guessing what's 1 and what's 4. Right.
So this is where the trick ends up being a combination of bootstrapping the model to a good enough skill level that it can have the sense of what is more correct, which is an upfront training step, essentially. And then overall building a data set where you have to be some level of clever of, can I extract verifiable facts or logical conclusions out of this? And so this touches on my blog post. There was a data set released by a group out of Harvard, the Case Law Access Project, 9.8 million samples of American case law. And so this is a lot of text describing the conclusions, let's say, of a court case, and references to the existing cases that were precedent, that informed that judge's conclusion. And within that text, there are claims you can make that are like actual declarations of a fact. Like this, as part of this argument, the judge referred to holding from this case. This is why I'm saying that this prior precedent exists. And because of A, B, and C statements, it entails that this is the conclusion that I'm going to reach. And so essentially, to build a verifiable data set, you look through this massive set of 9.8 million examples, and you look for those keywords where, okay, in the words ahead, there's going to be the verifiable conclusion fact. And I know that because the judge used the word entail or holding. And so I know exactly what to look for. And similarly for citations where you say the name of the judge or the name of the person involved in the case and the year and the state of the jurisdiction, that is very easy for a model to hallucinate, like to almost get right, but kind of fudge. And so you can extract from a data set this big, 9.8 million examples, all of the correct citations and basically do a reward process where you're saying, like, never get this incorrect ever, ever, ever. Like, you can essentially snap the neurons of this model to only when it thinks about citations is only ever going to use the correct formatting. And so I broke that. That's basically overall the approach I took to this massive data set. It was, what are the things inside of this that I can extract as true facts, a definitive statement? If a lawyer looked at this, there's only one conclusion that you could get from that paragraph in particular, and turn those into a set of 4 or 5 tasks that I can train using this group relative policy of, hey, among these 4 outputs, which of these is the correct, like, perfect citation?
And specifically, case law is a good test bed for this because jargon is fairly standardized and there's documents of all of this that's accurate and able to figure out the result and the truth. Is that why this is particularly good?
So I was very opportunistic with this. It was really about some of those details you mentioned were like, okay, there's any chance of this working. And the other thing why it hit my radar at all is my wife covers legal tech as a correspondent at Business Insider. So advancements on this front are kind of on my mind just by hearing the discourse.
Okay, so she said, hey, Kyle, go do this. And you're like, all right, fine. You'll do it.
But no, I would say it's even not about, oh, is this a particularly good data set that lends itself to it? It's, oh, if this technique is how we're going to be updating models over the next 6 months or year, right, I need to figure out, like, oh, well, how would you kind of stretch and morph the approach to fit this data? We're going to need to expand what's called, I don't know if you've heard this term, the jagged frontier of models' capabilities of, like, oh, these things can be exceptionally good at writing code for you and then incredibly dumb at something that feels equally difficult from a, like, oh, how much intellectual horsepower do you need? How smart are people I know who do that? Right. It turns out if those things aren't in public data sets, or if the work process of how you reach conclusions aren't in the public data sets, we collectively are going to need to figure out how to take whatever data is known or whatever we know about how things are done and produce synthetic data that can train these models to successfully accomplish those tasks.
Okay. And so one very graspable reason why this is so important is because you cannot have hallucinations in court cases or in healthcare. And so and maybe correct me if I'm totally off base here, but what I'm understanding is that, like, the biggest problem in AI right now is that it makes silly mistakes, and yet it's also like a genius. And so it should really be able to get rid of those silly mistakes. And those can cost people lives, money, time.
That's right. And OpenAI, for instance, during their presentation for GPT-5, they spent a surprisingly long chunk of it about a woman who had a very difficult experience with cancer and how much she relied on GPT to understand the documents she was receiving from her doctors. What are my actual odds? What actions do I need to be taking? And you can just like spread that across like everyone in society of like, oh, you no longer are foolishly checking WebMD. You are foolishly checking whatever ChatGPT model happens to be available to you. And as people confidently lean on this thing that it is reticent to admit its true failings, or it doesn't know what it doesn't know often, we're going to need to fill in those gaps, or people are going to just, to your point, make catastrophic decisions off of utter hallucinations.
I had a very good story happen to me a few weeks ago, or like maybe 2 months ago. I had this weird rash, and instead of going to the dermatologist, I'm like, oh, GPT will figure it out. It got so much worse before it got better, because basically it didn't know what it was doing, and I was listening to it blindly. And so you're right. It's like I just had full blind confidence that GPT knew better than a dermatologist and could fix me.
Yeah. And you look at, and in professional contexts, the entire pitch is economics. It's time saved. It's, hey, here, the drudgery is done for you. Do the actual interesting or challenging parts of this. But the reality is, if you're letting it knock out huge tasks or a huge chunk of your work, lawyers, you would think, would be the people who are absolutely most aware of the CYA, like, hey, don't take on risk by letting it say things that you don't check. And yet, time and again, we're now seeing lawyers get in trouble with courts for submitting documents referring to cases that did not exist at all, and where lawyers are being censured or having their licenses taken from them because it's like, oh, it's your third time doing this. Right. You are not learning the lesson as an individual. And that person was probably like, well, yeah, but I upgraded to the latest model, so it's probably right this time. Where it's too tempting. It's too tempting. / it is the explicit purpose of adopting the tool in the first place.
Do you think there's a risk that we never get to that point where it's perfect? Or do you think that it's just a matter of time, brain power, and money over 15 years, maybe less?
I hope that timeline is too long. I think that the incentives are all aligned for the combination of massive companies, like the labs themselves, the biggest rappers who need to fill in those gaps and can't depend on existential risk of only having one or two companies that solve the problem for them. You're going to see open equivalents of all of these things, like, again, this silly project that I did, taking some public case law data and trying to build a modified version of that data set to do reinforcement learning training. Like, imagine that times 10,000. There are now random nerds all over the world who are just poking at these techniques, or are going to generate synthetic data because it costs a few dollars at a time to be able to make a small model suddenly much smarter, or fine tune a big model to no longer have issues on the problem that you're trying to work on. And I do think it is a matter of like money and compute and attention being directed at one problem at a time.
Is this what the top Silicon Valley minds are focused on, is this hallucination accuracy problem right now? Because it is a fundamental issue with AI across every use case.
Hallucination mitigation by a couple of different means, I would say, is one of the frontiers that they care about of performance. And so a couple of different ways that you approach this are this, like, build massive data sets, get exposure to real problems, insert yourself into the flow of real, systems of record. And then the other thing that's funny that works in an increasing number of papers or use cases, and it's how GPT-5 Pro works, it's how Grok 4 Heavy works, it's how Gemini Deep Thinking works, is have several instances of the most powerful module you have work on the problem and go, hey, is that other agent of you saying things that are incorrect? Go check him too. And by collectively working on the problem and searching to verify each other's results, eliminating hallucination through sheer compute spend. Like, that does eliminate rates, and it's a matter of, oh, well, that costs something like $20 per million tokens, which if you're solving problems at scale is expensive. How do we do that same level of verification of all the work that you're doing at a cost that could be served to 700 million monthly active ChatGPT users? That it's something that is going to happen. Is it some breakthrough technique, or is it almost Moore's law style? Oh, well, eventually the GPU is just kind of caught up with that really expensive technique, and we can do it for everyone.
So in some ways, AI is early because we're not able to get 100% accuracy, and it's still unit economically pretty expensive at scale. Is that what I'm hearing you say there?
So what's interesting there is there's some.
Be careful! Don't bop this bubble.
There's actually I was going to go in another direction. There's some like other takeoff dynamic where a phrase I like to tweet out periodically is intelligence valuable enough to meter, as a counter to the old meme of intelligence too cheap to meter, which is kind of the open AI, like, we're going to flood the world with tokens. There's going to be so much intelligence. It's going to be free and bountiful abundance. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, if you look at like how Anthropic has priced their models over time, it's, they get smarter and they cost more? What? And the reality though is, and that's the model that real professional coders are using to knock out significant amount of their work each day. And if you're an engineer who costs $200,000 a year to pay, all in comp $500,000 maybe, the idea that, we'll pay $200 or $2,000 a month for you to have access to the best version of Claude with as many tokens as you need to get your job done. That's intelligence valuable enough to meter, where you're not going like, $20 a month. No. How much will you pay because it's doing work for you? And so you actually, that's like the trend line I'm interested in extrapolating from is, you have Colossus 2 coming from XAI. You have the Stargate data centers coming for OpenAI. You're going to have orders of magnitude larger models. This is something that even last year people were talking about this when the first reasoning models were being developed is, would you pay $20,000 a month for a model? And the reality is, like, Mark Zuckerberg is paying people hundreds of millions of dollars a year. I think you would pay $240,000 to run a model to do all the like drudgery of your software development, the equivalent of 10 people. And so there is something to more capable models that cost a lot of money to run, doing economically valuable work, still being worthwhile.
Interesting.
And so this is something, this is like a curve I think is under discussed. It's like, valuable models will be paid for at higher costs.
What you're saying is very scary in a lot of ways. And let me summarize it back. But you're essentially saying like, hey, rather than Meta hire 10,000 people, they're more than happy to pay like $10 million a month for a model, 120 million a year, as long as net they don't have to hire those people and it saves them that money. So in some ways, like SaaS fees could end up getting ridiculous.
I think that
model's running Meta's department in marketing or whatever.
I think that is the curve to look for if you're looking for how is the shifting white collar work is like, what is the most a Fortune 500 company is willing to pay for the most advanced model?
And that's why you see, clearly the Mag 7 have become the NBA, and LeBron James is whoever that AI developer.
I love the TBPN updates of incredible talent getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars like an athlete to come over to a super intelligence lab.
I hate to say it, but what's happening right now is people like myself I'm no longer going to be playing in that league. Okay. I'm not that level of player. I know that. I'm not technical. You're probably there, but like, this is what's happening right now is that Meta has raised their standard. You're either the person that knows how to run that, $100 million a year model, or you're not. I kind of think that's where it's going. And like people like me, I mean, thank God I'm a founder. I know how to sell. If I was stuck working at these companies, I would be scared for my career right now because I'm not talented enough.
I won't name companies, but I have a friend who's a director at one of the large FANGs, and they are now stack ranking employees based on like percentage of your output that is generated. And they see that the more senior engineers are using it more extensively and the more junior engineers are using it less because they are asking for fundamental help, as opposed to the senior folks who are like, ah, yes, I have 4 Claude instances going, solving different problems in different Git work trees.
I don't need to go down. I really want to get to some AI tools. I have a million. I want to.
Okay, yeah.
Let's bring
I'm
it
happy
back.
to dive into specifics.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, but yes, you're seeing where it's going is very scary. Is there anything you can show me visually that would be like, hey, like when I sit down to my computer, I open up Claude here, and like this is what I'm building. Is there anything visually, or is it all kind of boring and you'd rather me ask a different question somehow?
I mean, I highly recommend folks diving into Cloud Code, but Anthropic has wonderful videos giving you primers on that I think will do a better job than I will on the fly. But I think, let's see. I can
sitting
speak
cross-legged on the floor
on a bed.
That's awesome.
Maintaining good posture.
I'm impressed.
No, so I can speak to, I think, the general development pattern that I've taken, because I, in recent months, have been doing rapid prototype and demo development for startups and corporate teams. I actually just took a job at a fintech company out here in New York, where I'm going to be a little bit of like a forward deployed PM, doing a lot of the same, rapidly building things in response to customer environments.
Inventing.
And basic building right at where the problems are, which again is amazing that it's like, oh, instead of needing to have like a product person and a designer and an engineer in the loop, it's no, the feedback loop is like, you see an opportunity to solve someone's problem, try it. Mm-hmm. You can follow up with designing and system engineering for scale once you've shown you actually solve someone's problem. Like the order of operations can be totally reversed. Mm-hmm. So I will get into my overall development flow, because I think that there is actually a very clear development pattern that a lot of people, if you are reticent or nervous or consider yourself non-technical, you're afraid, you're like, maybe I should stick to Lovable or Replit Agent. I actually think that people should go right to the hardcore stuff. Because again, we live in this crazy time where the highest leverage tool teaches you how to use it, and you should take advantage of that. It pulls good work out of you if you let it. So I strongly recommend using Claude Code. This is an agent that you install and lives within your terminal. If you're a hardcore developer or unafraid of being in the hacker realm, you can use the terminal built into your computer. If you've already been using something like Cursor or Windsurf, you can actually write from within the terminal in this tool, also activate Claude and use it from there. And then you can still use Cursor to look at the changes that it's making, if that provides you comfort. The overall flow that I take is about 3 stages, especially if I want to rapidly accomplish something more along the lines of vibe coding. Mm-hmm. So that's essentially 3 main stages: creating a product requirements doc, creating a technical design document, and then beginning execution by having the model read those 2 documents before it begins work. Product requirements doc, I use the very smartest model I have access to, and I explain in as much detail the functionality that I want to see, the form factor. Is this a dashboard? Is this a canvas with editable tools? What do I have in mind? Describe that in as much detail as you can to GPT-5 thinking, Gemini 2.5 Pro, Claude Opus 4.1. Turn on extended thinking in whatever of those models you're using and say, please generate product requirements doc for me. If you're in the appropriate kind of tool, save it as a markdown file so that it's local on your computer. Follow up with that same model you're using, and say, write a technical design document breaking down the overall step and key component logic so that I can implement the product described in that document. Okay, now save that as a technical design document, as a markdown file. You put those 2 in the same folder. This is now the step where okay, we're already in the weeds, and this might require some ChatGPT or other model helping you with this step. But in the terminal, in whatever app you're using, navigating to that folder with those 2 documents and running the Claude Code app that you've installed. And so that's a matter of learning how to use change directory bash commands. I'll leave that to your time. And then learning Claude. So then once you're there, you really do say, I've written a product requirements doc and technical design document for the product that I want to build. Read both of them, create a plan for implementation, and then begin writing code.
And so you'll do, no matter what, like even a small thing, like even a feature.
Yeah, no
maybe?
matter how trivial,
no matter what, you do
it's so you. Okay, so one way to like think about what you're doing here is like collapsing down uncertainty of where is this thing going to make choices for you, cut corners for you, where are there opportunities to go in a different direction from what you had in mind. Getting these two documents set up as specific as possible is going to let any of these agents, whether it's Claude Code or ChatGPT running in Codex or Gemini running in Gemini CLI or whatever in this wide competitive universe, getting rid of that specificity or getting rid of that room for error by being as specific as possible, incredibly important. I've found that this is one of the steps too, where if you're non-technical, the PRD is like the highest leverage point of intervention for you, where once you have this well-defined thing, okay, you don't need to know like, wait, what are all the things I should describe? They're all just there in front of you. And you're now responding to something as if you were working with maybe a development agency who was like trying to come back with, here's our plan, any changes you want to make at the last second. This lets you intervene in a natural language format where you still know what you're talking about, where once the agent is writing code, if you're a non-technical vibe coder, you might just like, oh, I'm lost as to how to even tell you this is wrong. And so it's important to intervene as early as you can if you really are going to like let this thing spiral off. Then when it comes to, again, the technical design document, this is something where if you're non-technical, what is very cool about the technology we're working with is you can have it explain to you all of the choices that it made, and you can push back or say yes to those choices as summarized. And through iterations there, start to familiarize yourself with the choices you're implicitly making. And this is where, going to the last step of writing code, there's this document a few months ago Anthropic put out about how various teams within the company that you wouldn't expect are using Claude Code to really accelerate their flows. And one of the things the research team said is, like, we don't treat any of the code as precious that comes out of this. We actually treat it like a slot machine, which is to say the PRD description, this technical design document description, they give like a specific vision of it to project forward. You can just like instantly reshot that 1 time, 3 times, 10 times from one model or all of them.
Yep.
And the reality is random settings under the hood lead to vastly different outputs from the same model. And it can even be things like, oh, the servers are busy and they're running a quantized dumber version for 30 seconds.
You even see that on Lovable. Like if you copy what you had that it messed up, revert it to the previous version, paste the exact same thing, and then run it again, it'll do it right. And so there's some weird discrepancy that doesn't make
and so strengths are the flip side of weaknesses in every domain of the world. And so the way to like invert this is to go like, oh, any run could be bad, but also I can redo it at effectively 0 cost. Again, this goes back to our previous conversational thread. You don't have a developer agency charging you $20,000 in the loop. You don't have an engineer who has health insurance benefits and a 401k that you're financing on these successive generations. You're paying $20 a month or $100 a month or $200 a month. Fire it off as many times as you need to get the best output that you can. And this itself is a skill set that you start to pick up. And so this is where I do have a product I would recommend that is a little bit more even on the frontier past Claude Code of what I would pick up. I'll give you a link, conductor.build. I'll let you pull it up.
Conductor. All right, let me get it for everybody. I'll also put the link in the chat 1 minute.
Yeah, thank you.
.build. Man, they got such cool .domains nowadays. I got to get one of these. Here we go. I found it.
So this is, again, for the folks who don't want to live in their terminal like a advanced Linux hacker user, if that's like a model you have of doing that kind of work where it's like, oh, that's too much, I don't want to learn all those commands that Kyle suggested earlier, that sound okay. So this wraps Claude Code in a nice app living on your desktop that looks like a GUI that you're familiar with.
So this is Anthropic's Claude Code, and then Conductor is the wrapper that makes it more friendly.
Correct. And
this does not look very friendly to me, by the way.
So all of these various windows can be collapsed, a la Cursor. Right. Yeah, no, the intimidation can go away. No, so what this specifically lets you do that really lets you push into the kind of like advanced user frontier of like, oh, these are the emerging like new software engineer best practices or agentic coding best practices, is pairing a model or agentic harness like Claude Code with essentially Git tools that let you spin up those 1, 3, 5, 10 simultaneous parallel experiments without colliding into each other. Again, this is in the weeds of like what these things are called, but it lets you use what are called Git work trees, where it sets up multiple copies of your code separately on your computer so that you can fire off those different experiments all at once.
That's super. I mean, I understand that even from just using Lovable. I have sometimes 3 or 4 websites where I'm just, again, it's a lottery ticket. A lot of this is really just a lottery.
Exactly. Treat it like a slot machine. That sounds like an awful user experience. This kind of workflow lets you invert that into, oh, I'm going to let, in one group, I've got Claude, and then in another panel, I've got GPT-5 with high reasoning turned on. Oh, let's see what that outputs. This lets you operate at that level of parallel experiments and seeing what is the very best output I can achieve. So this is one I definitely recommend as most people haven't heard of this, lets you achieve something beyond even what Lovable can do for you.
This is super valuable. All right, I'm going to put that in the chat. So, okay, last thing then. So I have this founder group. We've got a bunch of CEOs that are all running a 6-week long experiment right now. And basically the challenge issued to everybody was go set your growth goals and then use AI experiments to get there. So if you're enterprise, you generate 100 quality leads. If you're social, you generate 10,000 leads, whatever it is, right? So each person in the group has their own challenge. What is working across marketing hacks? I mean, I think some of this is very
So there's like two weird level of tactics I would give for marketing hacks that go in completely opposite directions.
Perfect.
So one is, if you're in a product category that lends itself to acquiring customers on TikTok, is the VEO3 generative video like viral channel. I think you've been doing maybe some experiments along these lines. I don't know.
I love the Yeti. I love the Yeti ones. I've not done it yet.
So the notion here is there's entire categories of video that blew up as kind of viral opportunities when Google released the VEO3 generation of its video generation models, which can, on top of like very photorealistic or movie quality footage, also it gives you voices that are correct for each character. Very impressive. And so one of the categories of meme video was like travel logs from like biblical period stories and things like that. Yeah. And so
I saw one. I think it was Moses, and he had his camera, and he's running across the Red Sea had just parted. He goes, I don't have time to tell you, but long story short, the sea just parted. I'll tell you after. He's just like running.
No, similarly, like
the Pharaoh's pissed off.
Yeah, no. So an entire like marketing approach emerged of, hey, jump on that trend, seed a brand new channel with that kind of content, pick whatever your bit is going to be and keep generating videos along those lines for weeks at a time. Have a audience that is seeded with, okay, you get regular engagement, it gets pushed to these people. And essentially it's spaced repetition, but for inserting your marketing content amongst that channel. At first, you maybe add a few frames that say like, oh, this video actually came from this brand at the end. And then, okay, 4 videos later, oh, the character mentions you a little bit, and then 12 videos later, the video is more explicitly about your brand now and not the bit that we've been doing. And the idea is acquire an audience by making good, enjoyable content that's predictably fun for someone, using these tools that make that super easy to do. And over time, with that distribution you've accumulated, start to push your product or service to that same audience. And hopefully you can be thoughtful around, like, can we think of narratives or funny bits that will get us the right kind of people that when it's time to sell, we're talking to the people we care about.
And that's the key is being applicable enough to the right audience that you can shift that. Okay. So I love that.
So that's one direction. So this is the other direction is actually referencing that same Anthropic, like how we weirdly use Claude code in a bunch of ways you wouldn't expect. And their example was for their marketing team having, now this stuff is a lot more common even than it was when they made this document this spring, but having a Figma MCP server. So MCP, for those maybe who don't know, Model Context Protocol. Basically, these are ways to log into different services using the chat bots that you use, whether it's OpenAI's ChatGPT or Anthropic's Claude, being able to connect to those services and either pull information so it knows your calendar or push information so it can write to frames in Figma. So one of the things that they
MCP, do... it's basically just like natural language processing instructions that the AI reads before it goes to the next step, right?
And specifically for interfacing with given services. Yeah, to your point, like natural language API, like how do you pull or push to the things you want to do on that surface?
All right, cool.
And so, for Facebook ad units for years now, it's been this like magical system. If you feed it more and more examples into their A/B testing for headlines, for the images used, for the price that you're willing to offer, like across its 3 billion users, it'll hyper optimize your ad and get you in front of the right people. Like the reason that they print money is because they are quite good at putting ads in front of people. And a major rate limiter for especially small businesses or just like startups that don't have like a marketing org but have one person or it's just the founder is, well, how much time can I spend on copy or on designs to feed into those various A/B testing systems? And so what the Anthropic team discovered is hook up Claude, whatever the most powerful one you've got, to Figma with the ability to generate frames and spit out 100 variants of the marketing language used and the visuals. And you can even have automations of your agent driving ChatGPT image generation feeding back into this Figma solution. It's possible to make workflows where you are barely touching at each generation step, other than to say like, the price is now going to be $50 for this promotion, and we're trying to get phishing dads. Give me 100 different versions of the ad. And so this is where I would say, again, it's that slot machine logic of it is find contexts where it would be valuable to have 100 pretty close approximations of what ought to work and let the distribution system figure out what actually is effective in the real world. And just take advantage of the fact that you don't need specialists to do this anymore. You can do it. And the iterative trying and failing, the cost is so low that it is reading through 10 or 100 outputs and saying, is that one right? Oh, if not, delete it. And maybe I run it again, or maybe I don't, because I still have 87 left that are pretty good. But it's just overcoming that, like, instead of not using these ad systems at all, or not using them as effectively as I could, maximizing their value in a way that previously would have felt like specialist knowledge that you had to like hire someone from an agency to really do the right way.
So this was everyone should look into this company. I'm not sure if they're legit or not, but I used them and it worked well, and I'm not associated, but basically it created like probably 30 different versions of my ad for me. And then I paid $50 for it to run like a very base level experiment across Instagram. And it said like, okay, out of the 50 we made, here's the 3 that you should actually export and go buy ads on Meta for, and it worked. It was great conversion. I still haven't figured out how to cancel my thing here, so I don't know.
This
But
is
other than that, it's amazing. I'm such a fan.
We can roll back to my previous advice steps of, while I am glad that services wrapping up these ideas exist, this is also something that, like, oh, if you get into the rhythms of building with these agents correctly, you can roll your own fairly straightforwardly. Not that I would recommend everyone build their entire business on the back of their own rolled SaaS in every case now because of these models, but it is something where if you don't want to accidentally have your credit card tied up in a service that calls you to like show up in person and beg on your knees for them to cancel, you can build like the miniature kind of like duct tape together of these versions of these things in a day.
You can. I mean,
fair.
I need them, but you can. But no, but I think to your point, whether you built it and I use it, or you build it for yourself, or I end up building it for myself, you're right. Like, these are the things that, I already did that idea where I had 600 different ads auto generated and then figured out which one makes sense. And it worked. It really converted really well. And so I would imagine, eventually this plugs straight into Meta, and like, I don't even need to think about anything. It's just automatically doing
this. This is why is Mark Zuckerberg investing billions and making a data center the size of Manhattan? Is like, machine learning already prints money for them, and now they are going to take out the work of making the ads. That's correct. Like, Senator, we generate ads.
Changing the world. Okay. All right, we're over time, so thank you very much. I asked the same question. What's your one advice to CEOs, or maybe the best advice you could have given yourself as a younger Kyle?
I appreciated the humble advice from the previous guest. I would say, as a pair to Alex's advice of be humble, and as a founder, you have to ride that line of believing you have like an earned secret, and also being flexible enough to pivot when reality is like, well, that actually wasn't the correct secret. Figure out what's next. I would say the other thing is, it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. It's never been easier to build, but also competition is going to be so intense as fast following becomes trivial. The need for urgency has never been higher, unfortunately. Of like, if you know something has to be done, if you've been putting off a big change or a project or a resetting of the team to better align with the problems that you have ahead of you, there's never been more pressures making you do those things or die.
It is the hardest leap to make, though, because once you do that, there's really no going back in a lot of those scenarios.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had to do that a few months ago, and it took me 6 weeks to like actually commit to even like thinking about that seriously.
And then you have to keep your head on right after you've done the change.
It's really hard. Yeah. All right, that's awesome advice. Thank you, Kyle. I'll share your Instagram, or sorry, not Instagram, your Twitter. Everyone should go follow him. Get to 26,000, unbelievable follow. Go hit him up. Reads a bunch of books. Good read. So Kyle's amazing. Thank you, Kyle, for joining us. And
absolutely, my pleasure.
Talk later. Bye-bye.
Talk later.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. That was 2 hours. We had Alex, who's the founder of RESTREAM, which is the platform I'm using to deliver all this to everybody. And then he basically talked about going from his seed stage deck back in 2017 all the way to where he is today. $55 million raised, tens of billions of views. I think he told me there was 9 billion views a day or something, like insane. So you got to go watch that episode if you tuned in late. But that was awesome. And then Kyle Russell just joined us. I wish I was technical. I think you've all heard me say that a million times. I'm slowly learning and getting there. I think clearly like the next step in evolution for me personally is to start getting serious about Claude and Cursor. I think for people that are already there, he gave some really good advice around 2 marketing hacks, and then basically like the systems he uses to build stuff. Now you can say that's good advice or not, but he's pretty smart and he's using it, and this is what he's doing. So he said he starts with this product requirement document that he uses GPT or whichever regular natural language chatbot to interface with and create it. And he really, essentially, this is brainstorming, where he's really just like iterating on the idea over and over, which form factor, how's it going to work, functionality. And then it gets to the more of the execution side. So there's brainstorming, then the execution, which is the tech design document. This will be something really cool for me to try. And then obviously you start to run it locally and see if it works. Here's the recommended new trendy dev tool that he said Silicon Valley insiders are using. So I would highly recommend checking that out. And then there was 2 marketing hacks. They're not like new in the sense they haven't been done, but they're new in the sense that this didn't exist 6 months ago. And these Yeti videos and all these other like very viral trending videos have only really been a thing for the last 3 months. And some of them have accumulated 500,000 followers. So it is a worthwhile idea if you have something clever that you can apply VO3 for to your product category. And then the other thing he talked about was basically just like, he talked about a very specific example of using Anthropic or some sort of something to create a bunch of ads and then being able to run those and decide what's most useful. But really at the heart of that whole conversation, the theme I heard that he kept saying was AI is a slot machine, or almost like AI dev and AI tools are slot machines right now. And so it's more about how many shots on goals can you get and then compare which one worked. And so I felt like a lot of his mindset was moving towards that idea of just how do I maximize my amount of shots on goal for the least amount of money. So that's why he was specifically talking about Conductor, because it allows him to like branch and test 3 different things at the same time. So really, really cool conversation. I appreciate that, Kyle. In our school group and WhatsApp group, if you're one of the people that are watching, we have our official, everyone's filled out their AI document, everyone except like maybe 3 or 4 people. So thank you. I'm going through that and putting together a report of what everybody's been doing. And then like data around what they've done, which tools they're using. So I'll share that Friday is my goal. And then next Friday, we're going to come together with all of us and we'll go over all of the things that we've done, including numbers, traction. I'll say my AI experiment was very different than I thought it was going to be. And I would say it worked super well. I don't think anyone in the group is going to be able to guess what I did, but it's going to be pretty cool, I think, once we talk about it. So I'm excited for that. Adios. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm on WhatsApp or school if you need me.